Hello. Today I'll be showing you my interactive read aloud. I'm going to do my interactive read aloud on How the Grinch Stole Christmas by Dr. Seuss. The reason I chose this book is because I want to engage my students around moral themes of respect and honesty and how they connect to the way we treat each other in class, how we treat each other in kindergarten. So as I open up the book, I'm going to say to students, before I share this story, I think it's important to talk about respect and honesty. Respect is when you treat others kindly and show them you care about how they feel. Honesty is when you tell the truth. As I read this book, I will stop at certain pages to ask you questions. I will ask you to turn and talk to share your thinking with your reading partner about the question. After I read the book, we will talk about some of these questions as a whole group. And so I have two post-it notes here. So this one has the questions I want students to think about. And I'm going to say to them, I want you to think about a few questions before we begin. The questions are, how can we show respect? And what does it feel like? When we lie, are we being honest and showing respect? And so I want them to think about those questions as we go through the reading. Oh my God, so many pages. Okay. Every Who down in Whoville liked Christmas a lot. But the Grinch, who lived just north of Whoville, did not. The Grinch hated Christmas, the whole Christmas season. Now, please don't ask why. No one quite knows the reason. It could be his head wasn't screwed on just right. It could be perhaps his shoes were too tight. But I think that the most likely reason of all may have been that his heart was 2 sizes too small. So here I'm going to stop, and I want them to make a connection between the text and this question. Why do you think the Grinch hated Christmas? So I want them to connect this question to what we're reading about and what it said about why Grinch hated Christmas. But whatever the reason, his heart or his shoes, he stood there on Christmas Eve, hating the Whos, staring down from his cave with a sour, grinchy frown at the warm lighted windows below in their town. For he knew every Who down in Whoville beneath was busy now hanging a mistletoe wreath. And they're hanging their stockings, he snarled with a sneer. Tomorrow is Christmas, it's practically here. Then he growled, with his Grinch fingers nervously drumming. I must find some way to stop Christmas from coming. For tomorrow he knew. Now I'll stop here, and we're going to make an inference. The question is, why is the Grinch so grumpy? And I want them to make an inference about why he's so grumpy. So it's not, it's not specifically saying the Grinch is grumpy because X, Y, and Z. So I want them to infer from the reading. Some kids will probably give me an answer. Oh, he's grumpy because he hates Christmas, or because the Whos are, hanging, Christmas decorations and stockings. And because Christmas is coming near, so they're going to just make inferences on this page. All the Who girls and boys would wake bright and early. They'd rush for their toys, and then, oh, the noise, 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 noise. That's one thing he hated. The noise, 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 noise. Then the Who's, young and old, would sit down to feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast, and they'd feast. Feast, feast, feast. They would feast on Who pudding and rare Who roast beast, which was something the Grinch couldn't stand in the least. And then they'd do something he'd like least of all. Every Who down in Whoville, the tall and the small, would stand close together with Christmas bells ringing. They'd stand hand in hand, and the Who's would start singing. Okay, quick pause. My dog is shredding my carpet. Sorry. Okay. They'd sing and they'd sing, and they'd sing, 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 sing. And the more the Grinch thought of this Who Christmas sing, the more the Grinch thought, I must stop this whole thing. Why, for 53 years I've put up with it now. I must stop this Christmas from coming, but how? And here we're going to stop, and we're going to make predictions. And I'm going to think out loud. I wonder if he's going to steal Christmas presents to stop Christmas. And I'm going to ask students to turn and talk. Turn and talk with your partner. How do you think he's going to stop Christmas? And so they'll, turn and talk and discuss that with their reading partners. Then he got an idea, an awful idea. The Grinch got a wonderful, awful idea. I know just what to do. The Grinch laughed in his throat, and he made a quick Santa Claus hat and a coat, and he chuckled and clucked. What a great Grinchy trick. With this coat and this hat, I look just like Saint Nick. All I need is a reindeer. The Grinch looked around, but since reindeer are scarce, there was none to be found. Did that stop the old Grinch? No, the Grinch simply said, if I can't find a reindeer, I'll make one instead. So he called his dog Max. Then he took some red thread and he tied a big horn on top of his head. Then he loaded some bags and some old empty sacks on a ramshackle sleigh, and he hitched up old Max. Then the Grinch said, "Giddy up!" And the sleigh started down toward the homes where the Who's lay a snooze in their town. All their windows were dark. Quiet snow filled the air. All the Who's were all dreaming sweet dreams without care. When he came to the first little house on the square, "This is stop number 1, the old Grinchy Claus hissed, and he climbed to the roof, empty bags in his fist. Then he slid down the chimney, a rather tight pinch, but if Santa could do it, then so could the Grinch. He got stuck only once, for a moment or two. Then he stuck his head out of the fireplace flue, where the little Who stockings all hung in a row. "They stockings," he grinned, "are the first things to go." Here we're going to stop, and I'm going to monitor their comprehension. And I'm going to model that. I'm going to say, now I understand how he's going to stop Christmas. Was I right before? Remember how we predicted on page 11? And then I'm going to go back to page 11. And I said, I wonder if he's going to steal Christmas. Is he's going to stop Christmas by... I wonder if he's going to steal Christmas presents to stop Christmas. Sorry, couldn't read that. And then I'm going to go back. I'm going to say, yes, I was right before. So he's stealing. This is how he's going to stop Christmas. He's stealing Christmas presents. Then he slithered and slunk with a smile, most unpleasant, around the whole room, and he took every present. And to not make this video so long, I'm gonna stop reading so much, and I'm just gonna go to the pages that are relevant to explaining my read aloud. Here we go. So this is a part where he talks to Cindy Lou Who, and Cindy Lou Who is asking him why he's taking the Christmas tree. But you know, that old Grinch was so smart and so slick. He thought up a lie, and he thought it up quick. Why, my sweet little tot, the fake Santa Claus lied. There's a light on this tree that won't light on one side. So I'm taking it home to my workshop, my dear. I'll fix it up there, then I'll bring it back here. And his fib fooled the child. Then he patted her head, and he got her a drink, and he sent her to bed. And when Cindy Lou Who went to bed with her cup, he went to the chimney and stuffed the tree up. This is where we'll stop and make an inference. This is, under the theme of honesty. And the question is, why did the Grinch lie to Cindy Lou Who? And so the children will infer, he lied to Cindy Lou Who because, he didn't want to tell her the truth about what he was actually doing. Like, he was trying to stop Christmas. Maybe some kids will say, well, maybe some kids will infer and make a connection back to when we were talking about respect. Perhaps they'll say, well, he's not showing her respect, or he's not showing her honesty. Something along those lines. And then I'll go on and read the story, demonstrating, fluency and print directionality and things like that. On page 37, it was dawn, all the Who's still abed, all the Who's still a snooze when he packed up his sled. Packed it up with the presents, the ribbons, the wrappings, the tags and the tinsel, the trimmings, the trappings. Here we're going to stop and make another connection. I'm going to ask students to look at the illustration. Where do you think Mr. Grinch is taking the presents? And, they're going to say, well, he's taking them up to the top of that mountain, or whatever they say. And I'm going to ask them, how can you tell? And, perhaps some students will tell us, oh, because the picture, or like it looks like he's going up there. And then I'm going to relate it back to, well, as readers, we know that pictures can give us clues as to what's happening in a story, to tell us more about a story. Which is also sort of they're also kind of predicting like where he's going as well. But I wanted to put it under making connections because I want them to connect, illustrations with the story. Knowing that you can look at an illustration, you can get clues from it. 3,000 feet up the side of Mount Crumpet, he rode with his load to the tip-top to dump it. Poot, poot to the Who's, he said, grinchishly humming. They're finding out now that no Christmas is coming. They're just waking up. I know just what they'll do. Their mouths will hang open a minute or two. Then the Who's down in Whoville will all cry, boo-hoo. Here we'll stop. I will connect. Were we right? Were we right before when, if they said he was going up to the mountain, now he's up here in the mountain dumping the presents, and I'll make a connection to the prior page to see if we were correct, if we made the correct predictions and connected the illustrations correctly. And I'll also stop and ask an inference question. Why do you think he's going to dump the presents from Mount Crumpet? This is page 39. And so I'm sure some students will be like, well, because, Mount Crumpet maybe rhymes with dump it. I don't know. Maybe some students will say because it's high up and he can dump, the presents down. Maybe some will say because he hates Christmas. He's dumping presents because he hates Christmas. So then the conversation will all depend on what student responses are. And then we'll go on to read. Read. Then they start singing. And then here is page 46. And the Grinch, with his Grinch feet ice cold in the snow, stood puzzling and puzzling. How could it be so? It came without ribbons. It came without tags. It came without packages, boxes, or bags. And he puzzled 3 hours till his puzzler was sore. Then the Grinch thought of something he hadn't before. Maybe Christmas, he thought, doesn't come from a store. Maybe Christmas, perhaps, means a little bit more. And here we'll stop. I'm going to make a connection again. And I'm going to think out loud. This makes me think about respect. Do we remember what respect meant? And, we'll talk about respect, treating others kindly and showing them you care about how they feel is showing respect. And then the question I'll ask is, did the Grinch respect the other Who's by stealing their presents? So this will connect it back to the theme as well. And what happened then? Well, in Whoville, they say that the Grinch's small heart grew 3 sizes that day. And the minute his heart didn't feel quite so tight, he whizzed with his load through the bright morning light. And he brought back the toys and the food for the feast. But before we go on, we'll stop. And I'm going to make another inference question. Why do you think the Grinch's heart grew 3 sizes that day? And perhaps some students will talk about, maybe, he realized that it was unkind, or maybe he was not showing respect to throw their gifts, or because he heard them singing, or, because of whatever else we were reading on the page before. So that's making an inference. And then I'll go on. He himself, the Grinch, carved the roast beast. And then, ending the story, we will confer again. And we're going to, again, remember how we talked in the beginning about, how can we show respect? What does it feel like when we lie? Are we being honest and showing respect? So, we'll close out with talking about, did the Grinch show respect to the Who's, which was the question on the other page. What page was that? Sorry. Okay. So which was on this page where we talked about did the Grinch respect the other Who's by stealing their presents? And then we'll talk about that, and then we'll talk about honesty when he lied to Cindy Lou Who. And then we'll relate it back to those questions. Remember the questions I asked you at the beginning of the story? How can we show respect? And then I'll have them turn and talk to each other and talk about the ways that they can show each other respect. And then I'll talk about, what do you think respect feels like? And then, when we lie, are we being honest and showing respect? And how did the Grinch, when, do you remember when the Grinch lied to Cindy Lou Who? Was he showing her respect? And so, that'll spark, a conversation towards the end of the story as well. So yeah, that's my interactive read aloud. Thank you very much for watching, and sorry about bloopers with my dog. Thanks.